Why silence feels uncomfortable. Psychology explained. Silence is often misunderstood. We think of silence as empty, passive, or neutral. But psychologically, silence is one of the most intense environments the human mind can experience. For many people, silence feels awkward. For some, it feels heavy. For others, it feels unbearable. This reaction is not a personal flaw. It is a predictable response shaped by evolution, brain chemistry, and modern conditioning. To understand why silence feels uncomfortable, we must first understand how the human brain interprets the absence of sound. Number 1. Silence activates the brain's threat system. The human brain evolved in environments where silence rarely meant safety. In nature, sound equals activity. Birds, wind, insects, movement, life makes noise. When those sounds suddenly stop, it often signals danger. Predators become quiet before attacking. Natural threats are preceded by silence. Over thousands of years, the brain learned to associate silence with risk. Even today, when you are alone in a quiet room, your brain subtly increases alertness. Your nervous system shifts into monitoring mode. Heart rate changes. Attention sharpens. Thoughts accelerate. This is not anxiety. This is survival programming. Your brain treats silence as a cue to stay vigilant. 2. Silence removes external regulation. In modern life, we are constantly surrounded by sound. Music, notifications, conversations, videos, background noise. These sounds act as external regulators for the nervous system. They distract the mind. They soothe emotional discomfort. They prevent prolonged self-focus. When silence appears, those regulators disappear. The brain is left alone with itself. Without external stimulation, internal activity increases. Thoughts become louder. Emotions become clearer. Unfinished mental loops resurface. This is why silence often triggers overthinking. The mind is not becoming worse. It is simply no longer distracted. Number 3. Silence forces the brain inward. Most people spend their lives avoiding deep contact with their inner world. Silence removes that option. In silence, the brain turns inward by default. It revisits past conversations, regrets, worries, future uncertainties. This internal shift can feel overwhelming, especially for individuals with unresolved stress or anxiety. Silence does not create these thoughts. It creates the space for them to emerge. And the mind often resists what it is not ready to face. Number 4. Social psychology and the fear of silence. Silence is not only uncomfortable internally, it is uncomfortable socially. From an early age, we are trained to believe that silence is negative. In conversations, silence is interpreted as awkwardness, disapproval, rejection, lack of intelligence. We learn that we must fill silence quickly. As a result, silence activates social evaluation anxiety. Even when you are alone, this conditioning remains active. The brain unconsciously asks, am I doing something wrong? Am I being judged? Should I say or do something? Silence becomes a psychological pressure rather than a neutral state. Number 5. Silence increases self-awareness. Silence heightens awareness of the self. You become aware of your breathing, your body, your internal dialogue. For many people, this level of self-awareness is unfamiliar and uncomfortable. We live in a culture of distraction. Self-awareness requires stillness. And stillness exposes vulnerability. Silence removes the escape routes we normally use to avoid ourselves. Number 6. Control and the illusion of noise. Sound gives the illusion of control. When there is noise, the brain feels anchored to something external. Silence removes that anchor. Without sound, the mind feels exposed. There is no buffer between thought and awareness. This loss of perceived control can trigger restlessness, discomfort, or a desire to escape silence immediately. The brain prefers stimulation because stimulation feels predictable. Silence feels uncertain. Number 7. Why silence feels worse at night. Silence becomes more uncomfortable at night for a reason. At night, external distractions decrease. The environment becomes quieter. The brain's default mode network becomes more active. This network is responsible for self-reflection and memory processing. That is why late-night silence often leads to deep thinking, anxiety, or emotional resurfacing. Your brain is not attacking you. It is processing. But without understanding this, silence can feel threatening instead of natural. Number 8. Individual differences in silence tolerance. Not everyone experiences silence the same way. People who are comfortable with silence often have strong emotional regulation, higher tolerance for introspection, lower dependence on external validation. For them, silence is restorative. People who struggle with silence often rely on constant stimulation to manage internal discomfort. This does not mean one group is better than the other. It simply reflects different coping mechanisms. Number 9. Silence as a psychological mirror. Silence does not cause discomfort. It reveals it. Silence acts like a mirror. If your inner world is chaotic, silence amplifies that chaos. If your inner world is calm, silence becomes peaceful. The reaction to silence tells you more about your mental state than about silence itself. Number 10. Reframing silence. When understood correctly, silence can become a tool rather than a threat. Silence allows emotional processing, mental clarity, nervous system regulation, self-understanding. The discomfort fades when resistance fades. Silence does not demand anything from you. It only asks you to be present. Your brain does not fear silence because something is wrong with you. It reacts because it was shaped to survive, not to be still. In a world of constant noise, silence feels unfamiliar. But unfamiliar does not mean dangerous. When you stop fighting silence, it stops fighting you. And slowly, what once felt uncomfortable begins to feel grounding.